coming from me. I hope you're ashamed of yourself. You should be. It's 70 degrees out. You have bunny hoops on.
Here is This Week for the 12th of December, 2016. And this week we're going to cover some content theft by a foreign channel. We're also going to deal with some interesting videos with harassment of people and also preaching. And we're going to wrap it up with some interesting laws out of Australia. Now, to go ahead and get this started off, I was notified actually the other day of a channel that was doing content theft from various civil rights activists. The channel name is Cops Getting Owned. And it turns out there's actually more than one channel that is doing this, but it's all run by the same person from the looks of it. The other channel is called Cops Gone Wrong. Now, the main reason why I know it's a foreign channel is I was looking at the channel information and discovering that there was a little bit of text that was not in English in one spot, and I did a Google Translate on it real fast, and it showed that it was Vietnamese in origin. So I'm guessing the account was created in Vietnam, or the person that is running it is Vietnamese for the most part, or speaks that language. But what's going on is these two channels are actually part of another two channels, and what they do is they just go ahead and grab people's content, re-upload it, monetize it, and try to make as much money as possible to get a payout from YouTube in order before their channel gets shut down. And I've notified quite a few activists about this, but I don't have time to go and review each video and try to get a hold of every single activist that has a video up there. Plus, also, there's a few civil rights activists that don't care about the copyright on their content, and I do know a few of them that don't care about that kind of an issue, and I have not contacted them, but I'm not going to state their names. That's for them to mention publicly if they don't care or not about that kind of an issue. But I'll go ahead and leave links in the description for the four channels where you're going to see this content theft. And if you're an activist channel that is watching this, I do recommend you go and check out at least the two channels that I did mention here, so that way you can see if your content's been uploaded there and either issue a copyright strike or a DMCA on that issue if you're concerned about copyright with your content. Just remember that you can't selectively enforce your copyright control. You have to enforce it across the board in order for you to maintain copyright of your content. If you do not maintain that, what can happen is if you end up challenging someone on that issue because they've used your video in violation of copyright law, they can say, oh, you abandoned the copyright because you weren't enforcing it in this place and this place. So that's the issue on that. That's part of the reason why I'm so draconian when it comes to copyright control with my channel and my videos. For the most part, it's mainly big, huge legal part that I have to deal with myself as a content creator for making videos. Now, moving on, I want to go ahead and tackle something that's actually quite serious. And this is dealing with the Shell Refinery down in Texas. What happened was Constitutional Corner, she is pretty much one of the new up-and-coming activists that is been getting out there and doing some filming. She's currently traveling across the United States, visiting various activists and filming and doing some getting footage from all over the place. Well, her and News Now Houston went over to the Shell Refinery, and they went and filmed. But in this case, she went pretty much unattended by herself, and I will just show you a quick little snippet of what News Now Houston posted on his channel.
Just make sure she doesn't get hurt, okay? You okay? I don't want you to trip.
I think you're trying to intimidate me from First Amendment protected activity. Then I suggest you leave.
Now, as you can see, they're all out trying to intimidate her. They're getting right up on her, trying to get putting the cameras right in her face. She wasn't even doing that in the first place. And at the 3-minute and 2-second mark, you can see one of the security guys get down really low, looking like he's trying to film up her dress. And she was apparently wearing a dress that day when she was walking along the road there. So I have to say, definitely, this is one of the most extreme reactions besides the arrests of News Now Houston and the Potosi. Now, I've gone there and filmed myself, but I never got this extreme of reaction, that is for sure. I will not say anything more on that because that is footage that hasn't been released. That will be part of a future First Amendment Friday, so stay tuned for that in the near future. Now, moving on, we have another female activist, or up-and-coming, that is just getting started. MCSilverNinja actually made a comment in my previous This Week mentioning something about being a new cop blocker kind of person. And I went and I was like, okay, well, what kind of content? Because that was the first time I've seen that channel name. Well, it turns out they actually got a good start. And what's going on is apparently they got a problem with the postmaster with the United States Postal Office. And I'm going to go ahead and show you a quick clip here at the start, and also at one point where they're having to look at a sign. So let's go ahead.
I'm going to tell you right now to put the camera down.
No, I video any interaction in a government building.
Photographs for news purposes may be taken in entrances, lobbies, foyers, corridors, or auditoriums when used for public meetings, except where prohibited by official signs or security force personnel or other authorized personnel or a federal court order or rule. Other photographs may be taken only with the permission of the local postmaster or...
So would you say this was a lobby or foyer?
This is not a lobby. This is the public. This is an area, and it says on there, the bottom of it, it says without permission of the postmaster. And I said absolutely not.
Now, what I find interesting is the posted rule that is within the post office here. Now, I can't really see it too clearly in the video for the most part, but I would love to actually get a copy of that actual rule that they have on there, because it's very similar to the CFR that is used in general for filming inside federal buildings. Except this one's a little bit more expanded, where security forces and the postmaster can say, no, you can't film here. And I'm not exactly sure if it exactly says that or not, because I can't really tell from the angle of the video and all that stuff. It's really small print. And this is also very reminiscent of up here in Alaska, where the federal buildings actually have like the rules, the CFRs posted in the entry area. And the thing is, they're really small in text, so you got to get right up on there in order to read it. And I think I did cover this in one of my prior videos when I was dealing with the federal courthouse/visitor center over here in Anchorage. And that issue eventually resolved itself where they dropped the charges. I'll have a link to this video in the description, of course. I'll also have a link to the other footage, which is a couple of different body camera footage that shows a little bit more of the interaction and covers a little bit more. It's just in really low quality because it's a body camera footage. So that way you can get a better idea on the context behind everything that's going on. And also keep up the good work, MCSilverNinja. I look forward to seeing what else you pump out in the future. I'll try to keep an eye on your channel. Of course, I'm subscribed to many channels, and I'm just one person, and I can't cover everybody's content as is. So there's always content I'm missing and finding out a few weeks later. Alright, moving on. We have another female civil rights activist channel that's popping up. And guess what? They went in and tried to request a police complaint, well, a complaint form for against the police department. And what's interesting is what happens here.
Or wanting to put down.
Oh, I know. I just wanted a form.
That's so you're gonna have to put down what you're wanting to put down.
So just piece of paper.
Yeah. And then
Am I allowed to get a form?
And then I don't know if it rises to the level of a complaint form. That's what this is for. So we'll go ahead and review that. If there's a violation of something, whatever you're alleging, then we have an internal.
Oh, so you're saying I'm not allowed to have a form? Or?
That is what I'm giving you.
Right there. Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Guys.
Thank you.
Can you believe it? They handed her a blank piece of paper because they didn't know if it was going to need a complaint form. They would not hand her a complaint form. Now, here's the thing. It is very interesting with this video because they sit there and try to do a roundabout thing about not handing her a police complaint form. And you know what? I haven't really seen much of this lately where people have gone into the police station and say, hey, I want a police complaint form. It'd be nice if we started seeing this pick back up again. Because the last person I think that really did this was the Batosai, and I don't think he's really done it recently. I know he did it last year a couple of times, but this should get really interesting if people start to get back out there and filming themselves or secretly filming themselves trying to get a police complaint form. Be careful of those two-party wiretap state laws. Make sure you check up on that just to make sure you're not one of those states. But still, it would be awesome to see this starting to pick back up and making sure we're having the police doing the right thing when it comes to, hey, we want to file a complaint, or can I get a police complaint form? I might want to file a complaint, or my friend might want to file a complaint, kind of thing. Now, moving on, we have some more bad public employees. Now, what's going on is there's this channel called RidleyReport. He's been around for a long time, and he's based out of New Hampshire. Dave Ridley has been filming police and government officials. He sort of calls himself the poor man's TV station. And he goes around and interviews various politicians and stuff like that. Well, he's over in Colorado right now. And what happened is he got information about this anti-Trump meeting that was being held at a public library, and the meeting was supposedly open to everyone in the public. Well, what's interesting is what happens after he shows up and is waiting for people to start showing up, getting ready to try to interview a few of the politicians and stuff like that that's supposed to be speaking at this event.
Yeah. That's kind of neat, though.
Yeah.
It is. Wow. So, to do any filming in the building with a camera at all, you have to get a hold of the management here. I think it's you're going to have to get a hold of the management so I can take you up to the security.
Well, this is a public library, though, correct?
Now, after this, he spent some time trying to... it took him a little bit to get the phone numbers to call the right people in order to get permission to try and film this event that's happening that's supposed to be open to the public. Well, the thing is after he kept calling and kept getting voicemail, in which case he's not going to get permission from a voicemail. Most likely because no one wanted to answer the phone for this kind of issue. Now, the thing is, eventually they end up saying, oh, you're trespassed, you can't film this. He tried working out some sort of concession where he didn't film but just audio record. He was allowed to go back in, and then he was booted back out after when the security official says, no, we're not going to do that. And so, after all of that, he sat there and tried to get a hold of someone at all, and he still kept going around and getting voicemail boxes for the most part. No one was really helping him at all. Well, it turns out that after he put up the videos, there was a privacy complaint filed against those first 3 videos in the series by one of the employees, most likely, that works there. Now, unfortunately, with my conversation with him, there was no timestamps in the complaint form, so it was just a generic, okay, the entire video kind of thing for the privacy complaint. And so there's something definitely going on with this library. He's never had an issue before. He's actually gone there and filmed before, didn't need permission. And what's interesting is the group that was hosting the meeting, they actually live streamed to Facebook that meeting. I've actually downloaded that video just for reference, but I'll have a link to that the on their Facebook page, so you can go and check that out if you want to. Which is very interesting. I wonder, did they have permission to film inside the library? And there was also on their social media page for the library a posting saying, hey, we're going to have this photography thing over the weekend. Now, when I learned about this, it was pretty much the weekend, unfortunately, so I haven't had a chance to contact the library myself. I did try to leave a message with them on Twitter asking about needing permission. I haven't got a response back on that. So that's sort of going to be interesting. I'm going to leave all the relevant links for this entire incident in the description so you guys can go ahead and look it out, check it out. I really recommend it. It's quite interesting. Next up, we have an interesting channel that's got a guy who's going through an interesting problem with a specific neighborhood. Now, what's going on is this guy has been harassed by the cops for just driving through this neighborhood for like no apparent good reason. Let's go ahead and here's the first clip.
Okay. Can I have your license, registration, proof of insurance?
Really?
I'm Officer Haywood with the Bristol Police Department, okay? You're impeding investigation, okay? By continuing to drive by a scene where someone has called you in as a suspicious vehicle, okay?
How do I know that?
You don't need to know that.
You know who I am.
I'm still going to need your license, registration, proof of insurance.
Now, what is interesting is this stop is not fucking legal at all. You can't just sit there and detain someone because, oh, he keeps driving by a freaking crime scene. That's not illegal. That is not warrant a traffic stop, period. But what's even more interesting is what happens in this next video.
Why are you blocking the road?
Coming down here, man.
Why not?
Live down here?
None of your business.
It might be.
No, it's not.
How you know?
You know you keep, like, you're creeping everyone out when you come by here all the time, you know that, right?
Well,
now, I'm not exactly sure what is going on between this guy and this specific area for some reason, but there's definitely rights violations happening. They're purposely blocking him from continuing on through the neighborhood. It's not illegal to drive through a neighborhood. It doesn't matter how slow. Slowly, repeatedly going through. It's not illegal. Suspicious? Yeah. You write it down. If there's something happens, then yeah, you could say, okay, yeah, there's this vehicle that's been driving through the neighborhood a couple of times. But as is, there's definitely something going on. I'm wondering if there's going to be even further confrontations between him and the police, specifically with this neighborhood. So I say, go ahead and tune into this channel. It doesn't have much subscribers. It's only got a few videos, but I suspect there's going to be more coming out of this location. Now we have another interesting video by SuperRick568. Now, were just filming this traffic stop. Everything seemed to be going pretty good. And then, this is what happens.
Ask you a question.
I can step away from my vehicle, though.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, what's up?
That guy is
Out of the roadway, please, sir.
Yeah, with all this traffic, Jesus. What's your badge and name?
I'm Lieutenant Blahnik, Grand
Do you
Chief
have
Police.
to shine that in my eyes?
Do you have to point that camera at my face?
Well, this is completely legal.
Yeah, and so is my flashlight being shined.
In my eyes?
It's not
Have
in
you
your
read
eyes.
your police policy?
What's my police policy?
You don't know? Not to interfere with filming. By shining a light right
Do you
in
know
my...
state statute not to interfere with the traffic stop?
I'm not...
Yeah. Shining the flashlight in his eyes is completely legal. I wonder how he would react if he had a mirror and started reflecting that light back at his face. That is completely legal. I'm just returning the photons to you, officer. But yeah, that is just straight up assholenish of a hurt ego. Well, an ego trip for a cop right there, because he's getting ticked off because someone's just there doing his thing, documenting their stop and all that stuff. It's like, don't question us kind of attitude. That is kind of attitude that needs to stop within the police force. Straight up. As for usual, of course, the link will be in the description for the full video, so you can go and watch all of that. It's quite the interesting video on how that all goes down. Next up, oh, what's this? Police forces should be disbanded in 2 towns? Ooh, this is very interesting. Apparently, this has actually been an ongoing issue. It's something that you would hear about on the news every now and then. But over in Arizona, there's these 2 towns that are pretty much ran by this how should I say it, offshoot sect of Mormonism. And what was going on is the town's government and the police forces were actually discriminating against those that were not practicing their faith, to the point where they would not help them out. They would sit there and illegally arrest people that were not part of their faith, or like if there was a dispute or something like that, the cops were called. If there was a person of not of that faith involved in the dispute, most likely they would end up being arrested, kind of thing. So the courts and DOJ have said, hey, guess what? We want you to disband your police forces because they have shown and proven themselves not to be appropriately applying the law to everybody. They're actually discriminating and, how should I put it, in violation of the First Amendment because they're favoring one religion over the other kind of situation. This is actually quite rare, and it's not really thought of, but it still sort of happens in some places, and it turns out this is like the largest grouping kind of case where this is happening. And this is something I've heard about off and on coming from that general area. It's something that I haven't had a chance or the resources to go down and check that kind of stuff out. It's quite interesting. I would love to see some activists go over there and film and do a few civil rights tests in these areas and see how they're treated for the most part. I find it quite interesting that these towns exist in modern day America, but I can't be too surprised on that part too, because how large and how vast the population is within the United States. And then next up, this is insane. Dallas has been going after this one guy who sets up like a table at the grassy knoll where JFK was assassinated at. And the thing is no one advertises, well, the city doesn't have anything that says, oh, this is the place where JFK was assassinated. So he pretty much brought it upon himself to say, okay, I'm going to set up a little sign at my shop saying, the grassy knoll. And he sells various like conspiracy media and stuff like that around the JFK assassination. Now, what I find interesting is the city of Dallas has gone after this guy 82 times, and every single time the courts have said, no, this is not illegal. 82 times. This has gone on so badly that the fact that he's got a civil suit going on, and the courts had said no more harassing this guy while the federal lawsuit's going on. Now, the federal lawsuit ended up going up to the appeals court and then got shot back down for retrial in the district court. And the city keeps delaying the district court retrial for the most part. I think they're trying, according to the article, they're hinting at maybe the city's trying to wait until this guy keels over or gives up. They're not wanting to, they're just trying to do the delay kind of thing to try to take the, to delay the inevitable kind of thing for the most part. Hopefully this guy stays alive and healthy. But what's also interesting is now they're harassing his the people that help him out, his associates or whatever. So this is definitely an interesting article, and the fact that this has happened 82 times against one guy. I really want to see some activists go down there and just hold some like sandwich boards or something like that saying grassy knoll at that specific spot. This would be a great place to really exercise the First Amendment with some just stupid signs or whatever, and seeing if you get ticketed, or sit there and do some sort of preaching or something like that. This is definitely the spot to do this at. Now this next part, it's going to be a mixture of a news article and a video. Let's go ahead and play the video real fast, and this is of a preacher over in Texas.
So then there goes my American God-given right.
You can talk about the Bible, you can talk about whatever, as long as you're standing here and you're not on the megaphone.
Look at this road. So you'll just write me a citation and then take my megaphone?
Now, what is interesting is this guy actually went to court over this citation for the megaphone. And he was threatened with arrest, and what happened was he actually won in court on this entire megaphone thing, because the city ordinance had this thing about banning megaphones or voice amplification devices on public property for the most part. So he couldn't actually go around preaching in various areas using a megaphone, especially in certain locations, like if you're right next to a busy road. A voice amplification thing is going to be sort of needed to be heard over the road noise. And I'm sort of, iffy on this kind of thing myself, but you know what? This held up in the courts. It's legal, and the thing is I am perfectly for people exercising their freedom of speech to go out there and preach to the public for the most part. And so, for the most part, this is quite interesting because this happened over in Texas. This was a federal lawsuit. So if there's any other locations where they might have something along these lines, this could be sort of used to say, hey, yeah, this happened over in this town, and so, hey, you might want to change your laws for the most part around this issue. And the thing is the city had to pay out also $32,000 in attorney's fees. Apparently the guy who was filing the lawsuit only got $1. He was only after getting the law changed, which I have to say kudos to him. He's, one hell of a character. Unfortunately, not everybody can sit there and fight one of these lawsuits for free, because you got to sit there and take the time out and get the court, all the paperwork filed and all that stuff. So, but, this guy, he's really, really going for his cause kind of thing. Making sure the law is going for where he can exercise his freedom of speech and freedom of religion to be able to sit there and preach on a street corner using a megaphone. And speaking of preaching, I sort of want to touch on one last video before we move on to the legal thing. Now, I sort of have a love-hate situation with Omaha Copblock. He does his preaching stuff. He has that unique way of really getting on your nerves, the way he does his, the way he exercises his rights. But you know what? He's entitled to exercise his rights as long as it's in a legal manner. This guy's been in and out of jail a couple of times. He's been falsely arrested. But what I find interesting is this video right here where he's filming a police car. Here, let me go ahead and play a clip for you.
Oh, they got they got my name on it. Look at that. So look at all them contacts I have. That's a lot of contacts.
Now this just goes to show you that if they know you, they will pull you up in the system. And oftentimes it will sit there and show how many times they have actually stopped and talked to you, because it's usually documented every single time that's done. Now, as I said, I have a love-hate relationship with the Omaha Copblock. I love the work that you do. Some of the work you do, Floyd. Try to keep on improving for the most part. There is stuff that I do hate, but you know what? You're getting out there. You're doing the job. I have to give you kudos on that part. But yeah, that is quite interesting how they sit there and pull it up. I'll have a link to the description for the video so you can go and check it out yourself. It's not the greatest. It's not the most exciting. They actually do pop out and talk with him a little bit there. So check that one out. But you have an idea of what happens when you start doing this filming kind of thing. And they end up getting an idea of who you are. You end up going into a system, at least locally, and most likely that's shared with actually federal agencies and stuff if you get big enough. And I know those of us who have gotten large enough, we are on a Department of Homeland Security or an NSA system that keeps track of our movements to some extent. I know that for a fact. I've been informed by insider information saying, hey, yeah, they had a little bolo about you traveling down to so-and-so or traveling over to here. So that does happen to us when you sort of get out there and you do that kind of thing. It just shows you the kind of risks that we deal with. Alright, now moving on to our little educational part. We're going to go to the land down under, Australia. And I ended up coming across this video the other week, and I found it quite interesting. I actually had a conversation with a few people in the comment section, and we're talking about the various parts of Australian law. Now, what is very interesting is this man actually ended up getting put in cuffs because he wouldn't state his name. Now, I'm going to go ahead and play a little bit of this so you sort of get an idea what's going on.
You're just required to state your full name and address, please, sir.
You have it there, I don't care.
You're just required to state. You're just required to state your full name, please, sir.
Am I obliged
Yes,
to
you
repeat
are.
that?
Yes, you are.
You have it there.
Sir, you're required to state your full name.
I am not.
You are required. If I ask you again, sir, you will be arrested. Please state for me your full name and address.
Am I being arrested or am I free to go?
Did I say that? Did I say you were?
Now, the officer states repeatedly that he's required to required to say his name and address. Now, what I'm pretty sure this falls under, as one person went ahead and linked me, was this law right here, which is the Police Powers and Responsibility Act 2000, Section 40. And what it states is 40, a person may be required to state name and address underneath one. A police officer may require a person to state person's correct name and address in prescribed circumstances. So right there is an actual law about that. This is actually a quite interesting thing for me. It's sort of like a weird eye-opener kind of thing. It's like how laws differ in other countries for the most part. And this is something to keep in the back of your head if you live in Australia or you plan on visiting, is there are going to be laws there that don't exist where you come from that you don't know about, and you should sort of try to be aware of these things and try to not run afoul, of course, break these laws. And in some places they may allow you to sort of skirt away with it kind of thing, but in this circumstance the motorcycle rider was put in handcuffs, and they had extra cops show up over there. And I'll have a link in the description so you can see that. And let's go ahead and do a little bit further piece of nugget information. And that is the the requirement to produce a driver's license. And underneath, what was it here? Transportation Operations, Road Use Management Act of 1995, which is currently current. Underneath, what was it? Here, give me a sec here. I'm trying to read it again. It's underneath Division 4, and it's subsection 49. And that covers the subject to the subsection, and, 2A, 2B. An authorized officer may require a person produce for inspection a document issued for or required to be kept by the person under the Transport Act or a corresponding law. And this is pretty much the one that requires you to produce an ID if you're pulled over, for the most part, over there in Australia. So this is a little bit interesting. I mean, how they word it and stuff, it's a little bit different than compared to how the laws are worded over here in the United States. For a lot of the states, when it comes to it, they'll say either surrender or display your driver's license kind of thing. For this, they actually say produced for inspection. And it'll be interesting. I wonder how that actually plays out in court when it comes down, if they try to fight it out over how the ID is handed over. Can you just show it, or do you actually have to hand it over to where they can look at it? So this is quite interesting, and I hope to delve in further laws in other countries. I am actually looking at some stuff from the UK that probably won't be on next week's one, but it'll be on a future one. But I hope you guys enjoyed this little quick nugget of information and understanding of the laws that exist around us and all that stuff. And I hope those of you who watch from Australia do enjoy this little piece of information that you might not have known already. So, as is, look forward to further content. I'll try to produce another one of these for Monday next week, and also look forward to First Amendment Friday at the end of the week. Otherwise, have a nice week.